how does a woman, once she enters the workforce in this male-dominated industry, build and sustain her career? Because, after all, the data tells us that because bias, conscious and unconscious, is real, once women get into the male-dominated industry, they are likely to face all sorts of challenges. And so, as a woman, what can you do to build and sustain your career in a male-dominated industry? My first response is that you must have a deliberate, mindful focus on your career. What do you want from your career? How do you want it to progress? Where do you want it to go? How do you get there? What is the culture of this company that you work for? How can you be part of the kind of change in the institution that promotes diversity and equitable access for career growth? A lot of people talk about hard work. Hard work is a given. It is expected. It is even taken for granted. The expectation is for you to work hard. But hard work is not enough. And so you might ask, what else is needed? Well, let me tell you a story. When I was about 9 years old, I had to change schools in the middle of the school year because my dad changed jobs. And we moved from Kumasi. For those of you who don't know Ghana well, Kumasi is the capital city of the Ashanti region. So we moved from Kumasi to Koforidua, which is the capital city in the eastern region. Together with my younger brother, who was about 8 at the time, we reluctantly left our classmates at Kumasi State Experimental School and started the very next Monday at what was then Koforidua Experimental School. My brother went to class 3 and I to class 4. At Kumasi State Experimental, our school uniforms had been a check design, you know, the gingham design of various colors. The boys wore the check design as shirts with khaki shorts, and the girls wore dresses. Now at Koforidua Experimental, the boys wore the same khaki shorts, but their shirts were purple, and the girls wore purple dresses. Because the move had been quite sudden, our school uniforms for Koforidua Experimental were not ready when we started. And our mother insisted that while we waited for our purple uniforms to be sewn, we wear the Kumasi State Experimental uniforms to our new school. Now, my mother was not a woman you crossed easily. And so even though my brother and I hated the idea, on Monday morning, we went to our new school wearing the check uniforms of our old school. How many of you are familiar with morning assembly? Okay. So on Monday morning, we had morning assembly. And we discovered that our new school had groups called sections, named by color, that we each belonged to. My brother belonged to the red section, and I to the green. And that Monday morning at assembly, Mr. J, the teacher in charge of morning assembly, invited all students who felt they were exceptionally dressed, that is, wearing properly starched, well-pressed, sharp-looking uniforms, to come to the front. If indeed they were deemed to be exceptionally dressed, they gained points for their section. So Mr. J went through the sections, and then he got to the red section. My brother without hesitation, confidently walked up to the front. Of course, I was mortified. Not only because we were new to the school, but also because we did not even have the right uniforms. But as I said, my brother did not hesitate, because as he explained to me later as we walked home, he was sharply dressed, was in a uniform, and unlike some of the kids who had wrinkled their uniforms playing football and ampe before assembly, his outfit was shining with starch, well ironed, uncreased, with his shirt well tucked in. Plus, he said, what was the worst that could happen? He saw an opportunity to gain marks for his red section, and he tried to take it. Anyway, when he got to the front of the line, Mr. J said, "My friend, go back, go back. You are not even in the proper uniform. Go back." And my brother nonchalantly strolled back to his original position towards the back of the line. 2 weeks later, when we finally wore our correct uniforms to school, my brother marched again to the front of the assembly line, and this time he gained the points for the red section. Now, my brother doesn't even remember this story. A few years ago, I brought it up, and he didn't remember it. But for me, in the more than 5 decades, and you know, I heard this morning someone saying, you know, some of the people that you hear today, you weren't even born when they started your career. I'm sure for some of you, for me, some of your parents weren't even born. More than 5 decades since this incident occurred, and have gone back to the incident in my mind time and again, even all these years later, when I need confidence, when I'm afraid to take a risk, when I am hesitant about a decision. It is what I use to give myself a pep talk. If that 8-year-old boy at a new school, in front of all those teachers and over 200 students, most of them older, could boldly take a risk, then what am I, a grown woman, afraid of? And even if, like my brother, I were metaphorically asked to go back to my place in the line, so what? What is the worst that could happen? And so the lessons from this incident have been part of my guiding post through the years. What were those lessons? First is confidence. Confidence is an important tool in your arsenal as you build and grow your career. The confidence to develop your own point of view and not be afraid to share it. The confidence to take a risk. The confidence to pick yourself up after you've made a mistake. Learn from the experience and try again. The confidence to constructively challenge, to make a contribution, to speak up. Many times, we go to a meeting or even a conference like this one and never open our lips to state an opinion or ask a question. We do have a point to make, a question to ask, an alternate view, but we sit there and massage the point or the question. We are afraid of being judged or looking foolish, of being resented. Should I ask the question in this way or that way? Will people think I'm stupid because I don't already know the answer? Will my grammar be good enough? What will people think of me? We sit there mentally tormenting ourselves, and then someone else, usually a man, asks the question or makes the same point and is praised for it. Good question, good point. And then we kick ourselves for not speaking up. As a leader, I cannot tell you how many meetings I've been in when people have been identified as key contributors and out-of-the-box thinkers valued by the company, not just because of their core performance, but also because they demonstrate their creativity through the contributions they make and show a keen desire to learn through the questions they ask. So, let's agree here today. Going forward, when you see yourself falling into that trap, afraid to take a risk, afraid to embrace change, afraid to try again after you make a mistake, afraid to make a contribution, ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? Over my career, I've learned that confidence can also only be nourished by lifelong learning. Keep yourself knowledgeable and updated in your field. Know your industry and where it is going. Keep up with changes in your area of specialty and the broader market. Have the data and the technical backup. Being knowledgeable and well-informed means you can be relied on. It gives you the ability to have competent engagement and earns you respect. And it always helps to build your confidence. Another lesson is recognizing opportunity and having the confidence to seize it. An opportunity may present itself in different unexpected ways. It is up to you to recognize and capitalize on it. A chance to be part of a project, a lateral move that you find disappointing because you were actually hoping for a promotion instead, an invitation to cover for a colleague who is on temporary absence or working on another project, a chance to gain points for the red section. Look for the potential opportunity in each. Stepping outside your comfort zone to explore new opportunities, to make new contributions, to make a difference, enhances your visibility and appreciation by others of the value you bring. Early in my career, I almost turned down a lateral transfer because my friends hated it, even though my instincts told me it was a good move for me. Thank God I ended up making that lateral move. As the MC said, behind every good woman is a good husband. It was my husband who advised me to take that move. And thank God I took it. Because it became the foundation for tremendous growth for my career. And remember, you can also create your own opportunity. The opportunity may not always come from someone offering it to you. A problem you see that needs an owner, a project that requires volunteers, an idea for increased productivity or innovation that you have. Volunteering for or capitalizing on these opportunities may give you visibility to be recognized and promoted. And then there is handling conflict. This centers around your ability to take or receive difficult feedback, turn it into a learning, and use it to grow. There are some who would say that Mr. J's outburst of go back to an 8-year-old newcomer was cruel. My brother could have withdrawn into his shell and never again tried to get points for the red section. But, learning from his mistake, he waited for the tailor to finish our uniforms. And then, there he was 2 weeks later, actually getting the points for the red section. As human beings, most of us want to be liked, and we crave constant approval. So we withdraw when we do not get it. But should that be our focus at work? Should it matter if you think your colleague, your boss, your peer, or even your subordinate likes or dislikes you? Shouldn't you be more concerned about gaining respect for your ability? And when we receive difficult feedback, shouldn't we do some introspection to determine what we learn from it and use that to grow? Rather than trivializing the feedback down to he or she does not like me. Next is having a good support system, networks, mentors, trusted confidants. Male-dominated industries can feel lonely for females. So it is essential to have a network of people who understand the unique challenges women face in such industries. Seek out other progressive-minded women or men in your field and build relationships with them. Join professional organizations like SPE. Attend events and find mentors who can help you grow. And remember that men are not your enemy. Identify men as well in the workplace who are supportive of diversity and inclusion and build relationships with them. And even beyond that, spend more time together with your colleagues. Engage, have conversations, collaborate, build trust. Allies can provide valuable support when you face challenges. And finally, remember, when you succeed, pay it forward. Support other women. Women helping women is a big part of the equation. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, awesome presentation. Ma'am, please don't go, ma'am. Don't go, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Keynote speaker, please don't go yet. Please don't go. Do you agree with me that she did a beautiful presentation and you've learned a lot? And as a woman, you have to break that ceiling and do what is right. Of course, one of her key points is that they have invested so much in STEM education. And as a woman, you must make deliberate efforts to grab every opportunity. Please, once again, can we give a round of applause? So before you go, ma'am, we'll have, ma'am, don't go. We are going to take a quick photo session, a quick photo. We'd like to advise the ushers to kindly get this to the back. We want to welcome the chairperson of SP Ghana section to kindly present. Thank you, beautiful. We'd also like to welcome Samantha on stage for a quick photo session. Thank you. We want to welcome all of the speakers, the panelists. Please join on stage. The moderator, please join on stage. Thank you. Thank you. Of course. Already getting into the energy space. So before our husband joins, sir, please, can you join? Can you please join? Thank you. Awesome. Someone say, "Oh, this is so sweet." Having your man come watch you speak. I know he must be beating his chest. I'm proud of my woman. Awesome. Okay. thumbs up. Can we do the thumbs up? SPE. Cleaner energy. SPE. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we'll have the seats up so that we can have our panelists come up. But I believe we have a video, a few videos that have to be played. And kindly pay keen attention to the video, because most definitely you would learn a lot from it.
You've been gone, it's come on back where you really come. You always welcome.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we would be welcoming the moderator for this panel session. Of course, the panel session is on building and sustaining a career as a woman in a male-dominated industry. Of course, the moderator for this panel session would come on stage, and after she's seated, she will bring on the other speakers. Let me welcome her. She is the Deputy D&I Chair of SP Ghana. Of course, she works with the gas. She's a senior gas scheduler and a contract administrator officer with National Gas Company of Ghana. Please, with a warm welcome, let's welcome the moderator for today's panel session, Mrs. Rubabat Ronke Oseni. Miss Rubabat Ronke Oseni. A round of applause for her. You're not appreciating your moderator well.
Thank you very much, MC. Well, the company is Ghana Gas, not Ghana Gas. So, well, welcome everyone, and welcome to SP Ghana Student Annual Congress. My name is Rubabat Oseni, and I'll be your moderator. Right here, we have our panelists who are seated, and they are ready to delve into today's topic. Today's topic will be on building and sustaining a career as a woman in a male-dominated industry. And I can beat my chest to this. My panelists are ready, and they have the energy. So in no particular order, I'm going to call them on stage, and then they will be ready to dissect this topic. And I'm sure most of you here are ready to listen to words of wisdom, and you can pick one or two things from here and then work on it as women in oil and gas, or women who are still in school. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on stage Madam Nidra Yebwa from Slumberger SLB Ghana. A round of applause for her as she comes on stage. This lady here has so much energy. In fact, I derive some of my energy from her right here. So please try and get something from her today. Also, I'll invite on stage Madam Shina Usu. She works with ENI Ghana, and she's a chair for diversity and inclusion, under which I serve as a deputy. A round of applause for her as she comes on stage. Also in our midst, we have Madam Ida Yebua from Ghana Gas. Please clap for her as she comes on stage. I'm not being a sexist, I have to call the woman first. So also today, I'm going to invite Mr. Emmanuel Amechi, GM, Jetric Integrity Ghana Limited. Last but not the least, I have Mr. Josh Okpalane from Vitor Ghana Limited. Please clap for him, please. Thank you very much. Please clap for him as he comes on stage. Thank you very much and welcome. Okay, so we're about to start the show. I think I can have a seat and then we can have the discussion. When it comes to gender equality in the workplace, organizations are keeping a slow, and I do mean a steady pace. The end result, highly skilled women succumb to stereotype-driven expectations. It begins early when girls as young as 6 stop believing that girls are the smart ones, whilst boys continue to believe their gender is gifted. I mean, we all picked a lesson from what Madam Cynthia Luma of Talo said with regards to her younger brother when they were in school. As women getting older, this stereotype discouraged them from pursuing careers thought to be typically reserved for women. And with fewer women in the field, subsequent generations of women are deterred from pursuing them. It's a vicious cycle, but it can be broken. Now, the question is, how can employer take steps to encourage women to overcome anxiety and self-doubt in the workplace? So my first question will go to Mr. Josh. Please, can you pass the mic? Okay. How can employers take steps to encourage women to overcome anxiety and self-doubt in the workplace? But before you start, you can just please give yourself a few introduction about yourself, and then we can delve into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Josh Opalane, or Joshua. It's the Americans that give me Josh. I'm originally from Nigeria, and I work for Vitol. Vitol is the largest independent oil, commodity trader in the world, although these days we're sort of moving more towards cleaner, the new energy space. But so I run our business on the downstream in Ghana, which entails basically all imports of petroleum products into the country. So it's a small team that we have on the downstream side. Vitol is actually a lot more present in the upstream space in Ghana as well, alongside E. That's a little about me. It's quite fascinating to be with you. I haven't been in a session like this with students in such a long time. I feel like I'm old now. Originally, I'm a chemical engineer by training, so it's good to see, I guess, smart, young, dynamic, young male and women that are keen to join the industry. Getting back to the question that was posed, I think I'll go back to the point you made earlier about the last speaker, right? I mean, there were very keen points that she made there, and one that I keyed into was about culture. So I'll use that to sort of answer the question you've asked as to, how does a company, help in driving what we're talking about here? And I come back to culture, right? Because culture is everything, as we know, and I think as you guys advance in you finish school and you get into your working environment, you find that culture is everything, right? So I think creating that for companies is about creating that culture that is welcoming, right? That makes women in this case, or minorities, because I think oftentimes we're talking more just in this particular instances, we're talking more about women, right? But where I started my career, it was I oftentimes identify in what we're talking about here, because as an engineer, as a black engineer in the part of the world that I started my career in, you were oftentimes the only person in the room or in the conference rooms. I remember one job that I worked for ConocoPhillips. At my first job as an engineer was with ConocoPhillips, and I remember being the only black engineer in the room, right? So and oftentimes I think you girls, coming up will feel that way as you get into the working world, right? Where obviously we don't have that problem in this part of the world, but some of you might find yourselves overseas, in the next few years, right? And you end up being, identifying with some of, what we're talking about here, right? So I think it's about creating a culture that actually encourages everybody being equal, right? And feeling like you're part of an organization where your voices are heard, what you bring to the table is appreciated, if you will, right? So for me, I would say for a company, back to your question, I would say a company creating a culture or fostering a culture that allows everybody to feel like they are part of what you're building is perhaps, in my view, the most important key.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I got from what you said is creating a culture of equality. So as women, we should not be afraid because you think your counterparts are doing better. You are equally good as far as you sat in the same class with your male counterparts. So do not be afraid. That's what I've learned from him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have in our guest, OG, our African Regional Director from Shaw, Nigeria. A round of applause for her as she joins us on stage, please. Please clap for her, please. She has been supporting us in everything we've been doing in SB, and we are glad to have her in our midst. Welcome, OG. Thank you very much, Mr. Josh, for those wonderful words. So the next question goes to Madam Nidra. How have we been able to deal with or move away from mentality or the thinking that female children are assets to a different family and we should not be educated? The whole African mentality thing. I can give you this mic.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you said we should do a short introduction. My name is Nidra Arabayeboa. I'm a Ghanaian. I'm a geologist. This is actually my alma mater, so I was in Legon. I currently work. I currently work with SLB. I've been there for the past 11 years. I started working in Nigeria. I was born and bred in Nigeria, so Niger too, you're my people as well. So I'm a good fit for both places. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here and let's talk. Right, now down to my question. You asked the question, have we been able to move away? Well, from what I can say and what I have observed over the years is that we have evolved. There's been progress. It's been slow, but then it's been there. So you can see that we have managed to, you are seeing more girls in school, you are seeing more girls taking up, courses in the STEM, sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics, and all of that. We are not there, obviously. We aren't there. And that is why it's good to keep having conversations like this. And this is the reason why I'm sitting down here today and talking. And society has a very major role to play in this. Because one of the things that I think has been affecting us is, we have our cultural backgrounds. And that is a key ingredient, or that's a key thing that is that defines whether or not we are going to change or we are going to stay stagnant. Until we begin to push ourselves and our societies to begin to change the way they think, yes, we'll do a bit in the urban areas, but when you go into the rural areas, you realize that it's like they don't even know anything like this exists. So for me, we are not there, but we are on the way. Thank God there's social media these days. Thank God there's access to more information. This is where you and I come in to play. This is where we have to do the work. We have to be the ones changing, mentalities, putting out content. This, in quotes, the Gen Z generation identify very well with content. So if you are into content creation or something, this is where you use very fun ways to help change the mindset. Ironically, even the so-called maybe uneducated people that you think will be the proponents of, girls not going to school and boys being in school, you are able to reach them these days with, like all these are funny social media videos and those content. So this is a way we can begin to work towards it. So although we are not there yet, I'm not going to say that because we have not gotten there, so we are never going to get there. The point is we need to continue the advocacy in education. We need to continue pushing for gender parity. We need to continue, influencing the society where we live and work. Start with the person by you. You don't need to change the whole world. You can start where you are, begin to educate people where you are. And as we continue to move on from that, you realize that you're making a difference. If you're able to change one person's mindset, you have managed to influence that person's family, and it goes beyond that. So although we have not hit the target, I think that we are well on our way too. That's my submission.
Thank you very much. So we are still working, but the pace is very slow. So the next change has to be from us. Let's try and change the narrative and talk to our neighbors before we can actually see the impact. Thank you very much, Madam Nidra. So my next question goes to Mr. Josh. No, I think I asked Mr. Josh already. I think I wanted to say Miss Ida Yeboah. So my question goes, what qualities do women need to work in a male-dominated industry like ours?
Thank you, Ruba. So good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be here with you today. As Ruba mentioned, my name is Ida Yeboah. I work at Ghana National Gas Company. Well, I'll just answer the question. So, I've worked in Ghana Gas for 10 years. I moved to Ghana 2012, and it's been the only company I've worked in. So, I've grown with the company. What qualities do women need to have to work in a male-dominated industry? So I think, first of all, as a woman, you need to build a lot of confidence, have a lot of confidence, be assertive. You need to build, as Mrs. Lumba mentioned earlier, you need to build a lot of network and build self-development in whatever industry you find yourself in is very important. Having confidence gives you that urge to, when you're put in any situation, you're able to come out to your best. So confidence is a very important thing. Other qualities may be building your network, having a mentor. It's important to also look up to other women who are doing very well in industries to be your mentors, to go to them, find out what they've done to be in the areas that they're in, what they did to get to where they are is very important. It helps you to also elevate yourself to where you want to be. I think that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you very much. So what I got from her is self-confidence, and you have to be assertive. Do not be afraid of failure. That's very key as women. You need to build that confidence right now. And we have women here who've actually been testimony to that effect. Thank you very much, Ida Yeboah. The next question goes to Engineer Oji. We call her Oji for sure because she's called Ugogo. And my question will be, what 3 characteristic traits will aid in succeeding in a male-dominated field like engineering?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My apologies. I'm actually I was drafted onto this panel to represent Celestina, who had an offshore assignment this morning, so she couldn't be here. She sends her love and her regards through me, of course. I would like to also, so I hope I can do this justice, but I also want to correct a notion. I'm actually not a petroleum engineer, I'm a geologist, like Nidra.
Okay.
So you guys who are in petroleum engineering, please invite your geology buddies to join SPE. We are part of the family, so we're part of the whole things, the whole discipline. So don't forget that. And if I want to just give a brief introduction, so I went to school in the University of Benin. I studied geology, and then I worked in Halliburton for some time doing geological software. Did that for like 5 years, and I joined Shell as a production geologist. I did that offshore. I planned wells. I did reserves. I did a lot of geology stuff. And this is my 17th year in Shell, actually.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
So that means we can do it. We have a woman who has been there for 17 years.
Yes. But then, again, I've moved away from, I guess as you go a bit more senior, you can choose to stay more technical, or you can choose to become more business, which is what I have chosen to do. So I've moved away from core subsurface work into more commercial business type jobs. So that's what I do now. We structure the deals that brings gas to the domestic market. Long summary, sorry. So the question about, you said three
traits.
3 traits.
Yes.
That can make use.
In it, yes.
Okay, so for women, one of the traits that a lot of people seem to overlook is having a bit of a thick skin. Because unfortunately, there are all kinds of things that you're going to encounter. Aggressions and microaggressions and some kind of subtle bullying and not so subtle bullying. When you have a bit of a thick skin and you can look somebody dead in the eye and refuse to be intimidated, that is one trait that will help you, go past this. Even if you're really scared, you're like, oh my God, what's going on here? But you really have to be assertive. I think you used the word already, assertive and a bit confident in yourself. And just refuse to be pushed around. But you see, what supports that is knowing your stuff. So, and I'm not saying that you must know everything or you must know 100%, but at least know what you know and be happy to talk about the things that you know and be confident about that. Now, also be willing to have that learner's mindset, okay? Because ultimately, you can't know everything, and you want to keep yourself open to learn from others, whether more senior or more junior. Again, this also goes for the guys too. So these things I'm talking about are not necessarily gender specific. And then the third thing is really having, I think if I look at my own career, it's also being open to new experiences and new opportunities. And that's what SPE has done for me, actually. Being able to say, I know something, but I want to help out. right? Women are seen as always very helpful, and sometimes it may be seen as a negative thing. Or women are always being helpful; they're expected to be collaborative. But that you can turn that on its head and make it into a positive. Be the go-to person. So right now, you are the go-to person for everything from, technical, non-technical. You are not too busy to help plan a party, for example. I am not too busy to help structure a deal or to build a model or to write a technical paper or to make a presentation or to sit on a panel. You should always, keep yourself open to those new experiences, because that's where the growth actually lies. So those are the three things I can readily think of. But if I just want to branch out a little bit and talk about my experience as a female in a very male-dominated, I think being in a male-dominated role started right from university. There were 10 of us in a class of 100 people. So 90% of my class were male. In fact, it was quite like, I don't want to study geology because I don't want to be a rock. People actually said that to me, that, women in geology were very hard. And then, of course, there was I can never forget this one, guys. It was someone that said to me, so I was going to class, or I was standing in front of my class, and a young man in the department walks up to me and says, "Are you in Department of Geology?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Obviously, you can't be serious about your studies." I said, "Why?" This guy didn't know me, by the way. And I said, "Why?" He said, "Yeah, because you have hair and you do this makeup and you just, like to dress up, girly, and you have your braids and you've done your nails. So obviously, you don't have time to study." Trust me. Of course, he didn't know anything about my GPA, didn't care, didn't know anything about me, but just by my appearance, he had made a judgment that there was no way I could be good as a geologist, right? And unfortunately, that carries on to the workplace. There are people that will just look at you and just look at, you in your high heels and your two-tone colored hair and your big braids or your red fingernails, and they're like, "Nah, this person is not here for business, or this person doesn't know anything." And that is so wrong. And I'm talking to the guys here. So that is so wrong. I have 2 sons, by the way. Both of them are in their teens at the moment. My son just turned 18 on Saturday. So I always tell them, you cannot make judgment on a woman just because of the way she looks. Don't make assumptions. You'll be very, very surprised. And they will kick your butt. So, yeah. I'll leave it at now. I know there are other questions that are going to come up.
Thank you very much. So please, to the guys, do not assume because we have braids, we have wigs, we are not, smart. We are actually smart, with or without the wigs. And also the little bullying, please try and avoid it. It's both ways, to the men and to the women. Let's stop bullying. Say no to bullying, because bullying affects both genders. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. Bullying is not good. And also, what I also got from here was, we should be open to new experience. Do not be afraid. I keep repeating this word. Do not be afraid of failure. If you think you want to start something and you fail, please come back, revise your notes, and try again. But do not be afraid. And lastly, say no to bullying. Thank you very much, OG, our ARD. Okay, so my next question goes to Mr. Emmanuel Amechi. Will you prefer a solution to the obstacles women face in this industry? What exactly do we need to do? I think the focus has been on women, but it's very important because this is a male-dominated industry, and I don't feel shy to talk about this and to hammer on this problem on because it be talked about. We need to hear, we need to start it, and that's why I'm putting a lot of efforts in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel. I represent JECREC Integrity. JECREC is the leading provider of non-destructive services to both the offshore and onshore industry. So we inspect tanks, pipelines, and structures. Yeah. So back to your question, the
preferred solutions to the obstacles women face.
All right. So I think my past panelists have delved deep into issues somewhere around culture and other issues. But for me, I've been privileged to mentor a lot of students That is what I do on the side. And I've realized that most students lack that kind of mentorship. Okay, there's that's kind of gap between studentship or academia and the industry per se. So what I want to say is that students should present themselves for mentorship. And I think SP is doing recently, there's been some mentorship program. I personally have about 2 men under my mentorship program. So, and it's really going well. So I want to encourage you that just present yourself for mentorship. And in doing that, you may ask questions like, how do I identify my mentor? Or, yeah, how can I align myself to a mentor? You have to put yourself out. I mean, especially on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure my other colleagues who attest to, we are all on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a professional platform. My company have, should I say, given opportunity to graduate trainees just by picking them from LinkedIn. You know, we follow them, we see how exposed they are. I mean, sometimes you may be just students, but the fact that you do post things that are related to your career goals and other things, we do see that you have a great passion for the industry. So, I mean, that is one thing that I want to say. Then the other thing is that you need to know what you want. Okay, you need to know what you want. You shouldn't suffer along the way. I mean, if you don't happen to live in Accra or Takrady, that is where most of the oil and gas activities are, and say you come from the north or something, it will be difficult to say, okay, I want to delve deep into the oil and gas industry. But you shouldn't give up. You should know what you want, and in doing that too, you should be flexible in moving towards your goal. Okay, yeah, we have geologists and other professionals here, and they are now occupying positions that are not similarly in the geology department. I per se am not an engineer. I have economics and geography background, and I'm now into project management and administration, and standing as the general manager. So you need to be flexible. Yes, be flexible in what you want. If you're a petroleum engineer or you are studying geology, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should really push strictly on geology. You can get into safety, you can get into supply chain, you can get into a lot of divisions and departments in the oil and gas industry, and you'll find your feet there. So just be open up to opportunities. But the mentorship, it's very key for me. And if you're not on LinkedIn, I would say repent. Yes. Repent. Just create an account on LinkedIn. Follow us. You could get our details in the brochure. Follow us. Send a polite mail. Hello, sir. Blah 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 blah. I would like you to coach me on this thing and this thing. And a lot of us will be exposed to or be willing to assist you on all fronts. Yeah. So that's something that I would say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. And let me add to that, the LinkedIn, please create an account. And when you're sending messages to people, it's very common with this Gen Z. Please don't say, hi, dear, hi, hello, please. You need to address people respectfully. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. It takes nothing. They are not your colleagues. They are not your mates. They are not fighting with you. But you need to show some sense of, responsibility by addressing people very well. So please take note of that and stop using.
Sorry.
Even on Facebook.
I've also seen hello, mommy.
Hey,
Please don't do that.
or hello daddy, or hello uncle, or hello. No, just go politely. Hello sir, hello ma, or good morning sir, just to be safe. Good morning sir, regards. Okay, thank you. And stop using emojis. It's very important. When you're writing to people, they look at these things very well. So as students, do not use emojis and the shorthands. TTYL, talk to you later. No, you and who, Those things are very, very important, and you might lose an opportunity because of that. But when you address people respectfully, they tend to pay more attention. But those little things you do and you think you're talking to your colleagues actually puts employers off. Those who want to help you. So don't use your short hands to chase your employer away as students. So please have that in mind. Thank you very much. And last but not the least, I'm going to go to Madam Sheena Owusu. And my question is very particular. And it goes, why do we believe that in some organization or job roles, men are more suitable because of some women-related issues than that we women face? For instance, we have to get married, we have to give birth, we have to get pregnant, and all that. Why does these things why do we face challenge in this regard?
Hi, good morning. My name is Sheena Owusu Ansan. And neither was actually my mate in Legon, so I also did geology. Hey. I worked in Baker Hughes for about 5 years and then moved to E&I to work offshore as a well-site geologist. And then I'm currently in the office working as an operations geologist. So roughly I have about 13 years of industry experience.
A round of applause for her, please.
So to go to your question, I think first of all, that is a totally wrong mindset. Per our labor law, you cannot deny someone employment based on sex, based on religion, based on ethnicity, and all that. So you cannot say because someone is a woman, you are not going to employ them into your company or into a certain role. For the part about childbirth and all that once the person is a woman, it's something natural, all things being equal. If you're ovulating, you're a woman, you're ovulating, and you have unprotected sex, you would get pregnant. So that is not something that you're going to hold on the head of a woman. So you hire a woman and then you say, you can't have children. I understand there are some companies that actually will tell you within the certain number of months, you can't get pregnant, which I find totally wrong. That aside, studies have shown that having women, a diverse workforce, so you have both men and women in your company, actually drives profitability up. So you're doing your own company a disservice if you say you're going to have only a certain type of gender in your company. You need to have both men and women. Granted, there are some environments that once you're pregnant, you cannot work in. Let's take, for example, you're working offshore on the rig. Even for a non-pregnant person, that is a very high risk zone. So when you get pregnant, of course, you can't work in such an environment. So once the person is not going to go offshore, but you are not going to sack the person because they got pregnant. You need to find a role for them off the rig. There are a lot of support services or even the technical field in the office that the person can play or a role she can do whilst pregnant until she gives birth. So when something like this happens, you have to bring the person in, have a discussion. You are pregnant, you can't go offshore now because it's risky, but you are not going to fire that person. You need to find a new role for the person. You have to involve HR if there's the need, but for sure, the pregnant lady and the direct supervisor would have a discussion about your new role, what you intend to do before you go on maternity leave. So that mindset is totally wrong. You need to have women in your company if you want to see your profitability go up. And then one other mindset that also may be a cultural thing, somebody mentioned culture, I think it was Josh. You know in Ghana how once you're pregnant, they refer to you as Abrewa. For those of you who don't understand, you means old lady. So in essence, you're pregnant, so you're an old lady. And obviously, old ladies can't do anything. That is wrong. Until you get a medical report from a medical doctor that says you cannot work, you are in a good shape to work. As long as the environment is not dangerous for you and your baby, you should work. So we need to change that mindset. We need to come to the point where we know that you are pregnant, but you are not
Handicapped.
Yes, exactly. You can do whatever task you're given, and you should be able to do it very well. I'm sure my colleagues here who have been pregnant before would know that we were pregnant, we worked throughout until we delivered. So that mindset really needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her, please. So basically, what you're saying is, if you see a pregnant woman, please show her some love, care, and tender. Pregnancy is not a disease, and a diverse workforce actually drives profitability. So the employer should try and employ more women if they want to see their business grow. Thank you very much. So I have general questions. I'm going to throw this to the panelists, and anyone who is interested can pick up the question and answer. And the question goes, does collaboration by women with men play any role in the industry? By saying this, should we join the boys club? How do we break into the boys club in any organization? Okay.
Shina, thank you for the last part of your, when you said we work throughout. I was actually working in the hospital with my laptop, and my doctors were very upset. I remember that when you said it. So yes, we can work when we are pregnant. Pregnancy doesn't affect our brains. So with respect to collaboration, I'm a strong believer in collaboration. I work in, as I said, I work in SLB. It used to be Schlumberger. We did a major rebranding last year, and now we are known as SLB. So I'll try to keep to SLB. I'm still used to it. 11 years, I still say Schlumberger. In SLB, I've told a couple of people here, we have something we call the Connect Women. For me, it's a very important organization. First off, it started up as a women organization, basically to help other women share their successes, to encourage those coming in. Because imagine you, a young girl. I'll take myself as an example. First I was invited to write, the aptitude test, go through. If anybody has gone through the recruitment processes, you know how rigorous it can be. And then I'm overwhelmed by everything I'm seeing, and I'm like, and then I get an email, you've been employed, and you're going to work in Nigeria. I'm like, okay, Nigeria is not a big deal. I was born there. But then I have to fly somewhere. All of this is so new to me. And you get there, you see a lot of men in the class, obviously. And then maybe you have 3, 4 ladies. So yes, there's this strong tendency to begin to ask yourself, am I really in the right place? Sometimes I actually found myself going back to check in my inbox. Okay, it's my name. I'm here. Kind of just trying to tell myself I need to be here. But something that changed or boosted my confidence was, we were in one of our orientation sessions somewhere in Paris, and then a group of ladies walked in and said, would like to take 30 minutes of your time. So I was wondering, what are they coming to talk about? And then they come up, we are from the Connect Women. So as soon as I heard Connect Women, my ears just went, okay. And then they began to present who they were. Essentially, they were formed. It's a couple of ladies in the organization that kind of came together to form that, and then got management approval to kind of put it out there. And they talked about how they were mentoring, very important thing, mentoring other women, helping them to navigate their careers. And all of a sudden, I didn't feel so alone anymore. I didn't feel so alone anymore, because I said, okay, so there are resources, there are people to help. And you have women sharing, and these are really senior women who took their time off to come to talk to these fresh graduates. Some of them were at C-suite level, and when I say C-suite, these are reporting to the CEO of SLB, a company of about 120,000 employees. So you can imagine having somebody of that level reporting to the CEO, taking time off a very busy schedule just to come and talk. It kind of just boosted our confidence. Now, this is one part in terms of the women banding together. And then a couple of years back, we had an addition to that, because we had more men joining our organization. They said, hey, we have wives, we have, we are colleagues. Now we have the Men for Change. And what it is that these are people who work with us to push, to fight for different things, to make the workplace a better environment. So for me, collaboration is key, because ever since we had the guys coming in, it's really changed a lot of things, because they began to see things from our perspectives. They get into our meetings, we are sharing, we are talking, and then realize it's not a fight. It's not a fight, because most times they get in there. In fact, I always say this to people: the greatest push I've had in my career, the people who have pushed me the most, who have promoted me in terms of my potential, are men. My new role that I'm the account manager for the digital and integration division for Ghana. It's my male colleague or my male manager. He wasn't even my manager. I was just sitting in for somebody who reports to him. And he was like, Nigel, what have you been doing? And within a few months, boom, I have been given a promotion letter. So what I'm trying to say is that collaboration is very, very important. Most times people come with this very confrontational, stance. And honestly, that confrontation almost never ends well if you think about it, right? But when you collaborate, you're able to speak to each other, you're able to share ideas. Even within your small teams, you realize that there's so much more to gain from collaboration, because everybody doesn't know it all. We gain from that collective, relationship. So I am a proponent for collaboration, and I think it is absolutely necessary for any, organization or team to thrive. You need that collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to add to what Nigel has said?
Maybe I'll add a male voice to that, right? Since I think one thing is key here, from everything we've been saying. I think oftentimes there's a view that, it's a women against men issue. It's not, right? For somebody like me, I remember, I trained as a chemical engineer. One of my best, I'm a chemical engineer today, or I finished my classes well because I had a really good girlfriend, right? Not my girlfriend, but like, you know what I mean? That was, brilliant Vietnamese. We're still friends till today, right? She still works at a refinery in Philadelphia in the US, and we're still in touch up to today because, I was struggling in my fluid mechanics class, right? And I was failing a class, but I don't know how you do it here, but you had 2 exams and a final. I blew the first 2 exams. Literally, I had like 25 out of 100. It was horrible, right? And I never dropped classes. I was an international student, so you're paying a lot of money for these classes. And I wasn't a dumb, don't take it the wrong way. I wasn't dumb. I was struggling in that particular class. But I remember going, I'm like, Tam, you're doing well in this class. Can I study with you, right? And I came out, so I had basically the final if I failed the final, or if I made a C in the final, I was flunking the class. But I had that confidence that I can do this. And I studied with her for like 2 hours. And the professor, who was a young guy that just came out of grad school that was trying to prove himself, right, had to call my advisor. This kid just aced the class, aced the final. And I'm struggling with what grade to give him because he's been failing the whole time. And I actually went to him before the finals to say, look, I don't drop classes. I'm struggling. He's like, mathematically, you can't pass this class, right? He practically told me, drop the class. You're going to fail. But I'm like, no, I think I can do it. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make was that in terms of collaboration, and you see that continued, career-wise, right? You need to find people that, and oftentimes, like you said, just given the ratios that we're talking about, you're always going to have a lot more men, right? Because obviously as you grow, I'm a father of 3 girls. That's all I have, right? So you're going to find people like it's not always going to be confrontational. You're actually going to find people that are wholeheartedly want to see you succeed. And they're going to constantly try to push you because for me, it's personal, right? I have 3 girls that are coming up and I want them to be like me in certain ways. Don't tell their mother, right? But you're always going to run into people that are actually going to be your champions, right? So I guess one thing I will emphasize is don't come out, because sometimes we have this chip on our shoulder. I'm the only woman in this class, so I'm the only woman in this room. I have to, No, it's because then you sort of come off standoffish, right? And most men will be like, okay, you want to be you see what I mean? Then that potential collaboration that you might find from the opposite sex goes away because they're like, I don't have to do this. She wants to be a woman warrior, whatever,
Boss lady.
right? Exactly, right? But if you know that your success actually is found in working with your colleagues in a respectful and collaborative manner, you will always find people that find it in their own interest to actually push you.
Thank you very much. Anyone want to add something to?
I think I'll just add to what Naira and Joss was saying. Again, it's not a fight. Women shouldn't feel like they're fighting with men. I think as women, we also need to build upon our emotional intelligence to be able to manage our emotions when dealing with men. It's really not, I think everybody said that earlier. You should really try as much as you can to work collaboratively with your male colleagues. And if there is any time that you need some form of help or more learning or continuous learning in an area and you feel that your male colleague will be able to help you should have that confidence or, have that openness to go to your male colleague to get that help from them. And again, I think when Nara was talking, I wanted to add this. Women usually don't help ourselves. I think as women, we don't push ourselves. And it's usually like Naira said, is a male colleague that helped her to elevate from where her position to a higher position. As women, I feel that we need to help ourselves, encourage ourselves, be each other's neighbor. We should encourage ourselves to get to the top as well. So when, as a woman, if you're in a higher position, you should also see your younger female colleagues and try to help them to rise up, build that confidence in them. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you very much. I think we've all a round of applause for them, please. Can we have a big one? Thank you very much. And I wanted to add this to it. The focus was women going to men if they're having some, but please, the men, if you don't know, please come to us, so please come to us. We won't say it with our friends and we'll thank you. So we are also ready to you as well because we are also smart as well. Thank you very much. So the next questions, it's more about women being aggressive ones once we get to the top. So my question is, does women necessarily need aggression to build and sustain our careers? Okay, I already have an answer.
Okay, so I think to talk, when you say aggressiveness, I took a step back because, again, what does that really mean? So if a woman has an exacting standard, does that make her aggressive? If she refuses to be bullied, does that make her aggressive?
No.
So that's the point. Many times it's just a woman trying to stand up for some standards, and then she's a very common cloak that I see that is thrown on, oh, she's too aggressive, or she's too bossy, or she's trying to behave like a man. But what do those things really mean? I see them as ways that people just throw terms in a way to make it less legitimate what you are trying to do, right? I've had, and I like the comment Nigel made about men were the ones that actually stuck out and promoted you and all that. I've had fantastic male bosses. I've had crappy male bosses. I've had fantastic female bosses. And I've had terrible female bosses. When it comes to leadership, right, you will find that one thread runs through. And leadership is not gender specific. That's what I find. But when a woman becomes a leader, I find that there are many things that are put in the way to say she's not as good, or because she chooses to do things differently, then there's that whole thing of, oh, she's too like this or like that. And again, I always like to ask this question. If you've had one female leader that was bad or that didn't do a good job, why does that then confer that all women won't do a good job? Why? So I find it's very, very common. The same thing in politics too. You would put a female politician in place. She does terribly, and then they say, not voting a woman ever again. That woman, when she came here, she did this, she did it. I'm like, is she representative of all women in the whole society? She's not. Why do we say we're not voting men again? Because they didn't do a good job. But why don't we say, I will never work with a man again because you had a bad male boss? So let's, when you hear those kind of things, I also hear this thing of, women don't help other women. Let's also, young girls, let's step away from this thing that just because I'm a woman, I should be given, or I should be helped, or I should be promoted because I'm the only woman. What we don't want is women being given things because of the sake of them being a woman. Like I said, I have 2 sons. I have 3 brothers. So I'm a woman amongst, and I studied geology where there were mostly guys. So I'm a woman amongst a lot of male influence, but I am passionate about women's development and women's growth. But what I see many times is also a bit of entitlement. I'm a woman, therefore I should be given. I'm a woman, therefore I should get it. And that's not the right attitude to take. What you want is, that's why the whole conversation around tokenism comes in, they just put her there because she's a woman. And that's also wrong. Behind every successful woman, there is a lot, typically, maybe not always, but typically, there is a lot of experience, a lot of barriers she has fought, a lot of things she has learned, a lot of things she has had to go through to get to where she is. So many times, if a woman gets into a position of power or a senior position, I wouldn't say she's aggressive. I would just say she's just trying to make sure that everything works perfectly because the stakes are high. They are higher because her mistakes are not necessarily overlooked if it was a man that made the same mistake. So in that question that you asked, I also want us to look at ourselves and say, when women are also advancing, give them the same grace or give them some grace. It's not easy. It's the same thing with men as well, by the way. We're all human beings. We make mistakes. And sometimes, give the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for. I'm going to come to the audience. I know you all have lots of questions to ask, so please get ready. And does anyone have any contributions?
Let me add my voice to this. I think the key thing should be competence. Okay, I mean, I like the word that Zaida, she was saying we are not fighting. I mean, we are not fighting in our workplaces or at our workplaces. It is competence and solution. So if you are found to be a solution provider to issues, definitely you'll be given the raise and opportunity. Just drawing an example in my organization, our onshore supervisor was a male, and of course she was, performing well. And we got a female to shadow him, to kind of sit him back to back on that, and realized that the female was even coming forth more than the supervisor. The female was bringing a lot of suggestion. Why don't we do it this way? Let's do it. A lot of suggestion. And I wouldn't say we promoted the female, but at a point in time, the male found that, the female has overshadowed him. And currently, our onshore supervisor is a female, doing a lot of work. We've added another female as an AutoCAD technician supporting her. So I think it's competency. As a student, strive to excel. I've written a book, 30 Things You Must Know and Do Before Completing Your Tertiary Education. And the first thing that I spoke about is focus on your studies. If you are in school, in fact, you were admitted based on your academic performance from SHS or wherever you came from. It is studies. You need to focus on your academics and excel. A lot of companies will In fact, there will be a lot of opportunities when you excel. When you get that first class, scholarship opportunities, when you're applying for graduate trainee programs, it is very, very easy. So as a student, if you're a female here, focus on your studies. Excel. Because in this industry, it is competence. That's what I've come to know. Competence. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Sheena?
Yeah, I would also like to add to something. One thing I've also realized about a lot of us women, whenever we are given roles of responsibilities, we begin to second guess ourselves. We get this imposter syndrome where, because already the environment and people are questioning, can she really do it? Can she? But we don't need to be, like your question said, we don't need to be aggressive at all. We just have to be ourselves. It was based on our competence and our qualities that you were given that role. So you just have to, don't second guess yourself. Don't let imposter syndrome get in where you start thinking, oh, can I really do it? I found that a lot of guys actually, at the point they are given certain roles, majority will tell you they did not even really know how to do that, but they still boldly took it because they wanted to show that, yes, I can do it. But most of the times, we women, we want to be almost 90 to 100% certain that, yes, we have what it takes. No. Once you've been given the role, be bold. Step in, give it the best shot. Whether you, like Madam Cynthia said earlier, what's the worst that could happen? Yes. If a man has occupied that role previously, he's done his job, it's your turn. Give it your best shot. You learn from, if you don't do as much, as well as you thought you could, you learn from it and you grow from there. So we shouldn't be aggressive. We should be ourselves. We shouldn't second guess ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Sheena, please. So the key word here is be bold. Competence is the key. We as women, we want to be rewarded based on merit and not the whole idea of because I deserve it. We don't want this old thing of self-entitlement. Let's get there based on our competence and merit. So please, as women, let's work hard. Let's strive to bring our best out. And once again, do not be afraid. What's the worst thing? Okay, this time around. But please go back to the drawing board. Bring out the best in you. You have to be perfect. Because if a man can do it, we can equally do it and do it better. So please, we can do it than the men. So please do not be afraid. Do not second guess yourself at all. Once you have the opportunity, go there, do your best, and leave the rest to God. Thank you very much. So in this case, I'm going to start asking questions from the audience. If we can have the microphone. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, time for questions, and then we can wrap this session. Okay, there's a hand behind.
All right, thank you. I believe there are quite a lot of men, especially male students, who still might not have comprehended the necessity of gender equality or equity, especially in the workplace. And I bet you, I'm sure there are most of us here thinking why we have men as part of the panel discussion talking about this subject. And I believe, for me, that a good home for which we all aspire to have is one with a good woman, a mother, and a good husband, a father, working together balanced. In respect of this, what are some of the unseen, or better put, easily unrecognizable benefits of having women actively included in the workplace, especially the energy industry? Thank you.
Thank you. Please, who would like to answer this? Maybe the men should answer so that you can have a better understanding of why they joined the panel.
Okay, I made an example that currently our onshore supervisor has brought great improvement in our whole process. Okay, women naturally are sports finders. I mean, my wife, very meticulous, do this, a great collaborator. So, I mean, there's no doubt that if you involve, or organizations involve women in their processes, I mean, they will see improvement in the system. We in our company, or in my company, we do this safety headhunts, and almost all the weeks, it is the women who have been, winning the care cards and, the safety champions, yes, for the week. They are sports finders, and from where I sit, I see that if you involve women in your process, trust me, you'll see a great improvement. They will criticize constructively, towards the growth of your organization. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think he wanted to hear more from men. So I'll give. Women have a lot of traits, right? So I'm now working. I've left engineering for the last, I don't know, almost 10 years now, right? And more into trading, right? And I think there's been a lot of data or gathered around, if you look at money managers, women are actually better money managers than men. But how many women do you see running hedge funds or trading organizations, right? Not too many, right? So I think, obviously, we're in a technical, all of you are geologists, engineers, and all this stuff, but as you transition through your career, I think Audrey was talking about how she left the technical world now and just, deal making, right? So I think what you find is that there are a lot of traits that women have, and I think part of what Ima was also, capturing there is that I take myself as an example. I'm not terribly detailed oriented, right? So I find that if I'm in a team that has, women in them, women naturally are more detailed oriented than men. And that's a great attribute that they bring to the table, right? So I hope that answers your question. So I think somebody already made the point as well that, if you're looking at improving your bottom lines, there are areas that people like myself, will be terrible at, right? But I bring other things to the table where my female colleagues are the ones there that will say, hey, that guy is missing that. We need to tighten this up. We need to do that. I might be the best technical guy in the room, but not the best trader or not the best business mind, right? So I think what the point here is that, for you, and I feel like we're talking too much about, because the men, you guys are part of the equation, right? As you come up, it's a team that the company is not hiring you because you're a woman. Nobody is going to commit $100 million and say, oh, there's this beautiful woman in the organization. Here, go run the project. No, they're selecting you just like my colleague here had said earlier. They're selecting you because, typically the CEO is not, you have shareholders or the market to answer to. So they're not going to take a decision and say, oh, go and run our Ghana office because you're a woman. No, it's because you're qualified. Because, before you get that risk to be given to you, everybody knows that, okay, that person is competent and they can manage their affairs. So I think the point here is that, there are a lot of attributes that both genders contribute to the table. And it's the job of leadership, and this is where good leaders are made, right? Is to be able to identify those attributes and build a team to make it work. Oftentimes we end up talking more in terms of gender roles, but both sides matter, right? And I think we need to keep that in mind as well.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question, please.
My name is Seth. So my question is, as women in a male-dominated industry, obviously I'm not a woman, I'm a man, but I'm speaking on behalf of women, especially the young graduates. So, it's difficult to get a job in the industry in the first place. So let's say in a scenario where there is a lady who just graduated without any experience. It's already difficult to get in the industry. So what advice will you give to such a person who wants to further her career in the industry without any experience? Because normally when you apply for a job, they ask for working experience. And it's very difficult, especially, as I said, for young graduates. So what advice will you give to such a person to be able to further his or her career in the industry? Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I just wanted to make a point about that. I'm guessing your question, especially for the technical, like maybe petroleum engineering, geology, and all of that. It's the same advice to the guys as well. There's no special, there's no special recipe, for want of a better word, to get into the industry. A key thing he mentioned was, especially in this day and age, LinkedIn. Being active, volunteering. Volunteering is critical, especially so I am always excited. I think I know I have 1 or 2 mentees who are volunteering in SP events. Guess what? Tomorrow when there is something and they are looking, oh, Nigeria, we are actually looking to recruit people. Does anybody come to mind? Who comes to mind first? The people that I see all the time who, reach out to me, oh, we are doing this program, can you speak at this, etc. So that is one thing. I think in the past we've not been very good with that. Generally, even as a society. I know for some, you would say maybe people who schooled in the US, and some of the things they look at on your application, especially like for graduates, is your volunteering experience. It shows initiative. There are soft skills that we miss out. They don't teach us these things in schools. But soft skills, your soft skill sets are very important. Volunteering. When you volunteer, you learn to network, you learn to communicate, you learn to write professional emails, you learn so many other skill sets that are going to help you when you get into an organization. So for me, what I would tell everybody is make the effort to volunteer. Be active on LinkedIn. And when I say be active, I don't say just go there for the sake of go and post. Sometimes you see certain things and like, okay, this one just wanted to post. No, that's not it. Engage meaningfully on posts, share critical information, share good articles, turn them into conversations, get people to engage. It makes us see you as somebody who has initiative. Tomorrow, when companies are looking, and these days people check out these things. They check out this thing. And when you start doing this kind of volunteering, doing stuff like that, when you even come in for an interview, when you get the opportunity, it will show. Because there's a confidence that you will have about you that others will not have. Because you have been networking, you have been coming to events like this, your mindset has already transformed. So for me, it's important that you put yourself out there. We have not been good with that in the past, but I think we are in a good time to do that. That's the way. And this doesn't, whether you're a female, you're a male, it doesn't really matter. I've sat in interviews where we've had males, we've had females, and honestly, when I look at the judging panel, nobody really cared whether they were male or female, at least from the SLB standpoint. We're looking at, so many other things. And it was I was happy that the ladies did very well in that particular interview. Not that the guys didn't do well, but I was happy. When it came down to choosing, it was now a case of, okay, looking at maybe the details of the stuff, and nobody was looking at the agenda because we're all excellent. So that for me is important. And work on your soft skills. Okay.
Thank you very much, Nidra. Ida?
Yes, thanks, Reba. So I wanted to add to what Naira was saying and also to answer your question. I think this whole thing starts from when you're in the university. I think the universities have to implement or maybe have some form of career fairs for students. They should also somehow have some link with organizations, even such as where I work, Ghana Gas or other reputable organizations, to have internships. Right? All of this is, you don't need to wait till you're done with your 4 years or 3 years of university to do your national service. Most people, when they go to organizations to do their national service, they usually don't really do much. So during the time where you're, during your degree programs, maybe like on the days that you're not so busy, you should try to, apply for work. And I think it starts with the universities themselves. They need to implement it, to give students the opportunity to be able to work for organizations. All of this help you in, getting experience into the working world. For myself, I didn't school in Ghana. I schooled in the UK. I grew up in the UK. And by the time I left university, I had a lot of work experience because I either work after uni, after school. I started working from the age of 14. So you can imagine, whether it was a customer service role, I did that on a Saturday, on a Sunday, sometimes after schools, during university times, during the 6 weeks holidays, you work for, organizations, So I think it needs to start from the universities. They need to really try and connect with some of these organizations that will allow their students, and this goes for male and females, to also gain that experience. At work, when we have new applicants come in, I conduct a lot of interviews, and sometimes the HR colleagues of mine will be asking, so what experience do you have? And then I'll ask, what experience do you expect them to have? Companies are not even allowing or giving that opportunity to these students to have that experience. So when you ask them, what experience do you have? I'm not sure, it's quite difficult. And usually, oh, I've done I did my internship at this place, and what did you do during your internship? Oh, I just used to be sent to pick up this, do this round. They're not really involved in the organization, so they don't have much experience in terms of, for myself, in Ghana Gas, the department that I work in, which is commercial, when we have national service national service personnel coming in, we usually take them through every unit of that department. They have to give presentations, they have to go to the site, we literally educate them, we train them, and then they have to, at the end of their national service training, they will give a presentation to the whole team, will ask you questions. This will help you when you decide to apply for the job. If you apply for the job in the commercial team, we'll be able to ask you certain questions, and if we realize that you're doing well, you understand what the business is about, you'll be given a better opportunity than somebody who perhaps did their national service and didn't do nothing. And I think advice to you all, when you're done with union, you do your national service. Don't go into an organization and just, laze around. As Naira said, ask somebody if they need help, participate, give help to people. Like, oh, I want to learn this. Can you help me? Can you teach me how this is done? Volunteer, do things. And when you do that, people usually realize that, oh, this person really wants to learn. Let me help them. And all of that sort of helps you to get into the working world. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I want to add a very quick one, not too long. Let me give you one practical example. There was a lady who contacted me, I think, late last year. Well, before she got to me, somebody asked me that, can they share my contact with her? She was looking for a place to do her national service. So I said, yes, why not? Go ahead. And other people have contacted me for the same thing. But when this particular lady contacted me, she gave a full description of herself. She sent me a WhatsApp message. And she didn't just say hello, hi, and left it at that. She gave a full description of herself, her name, where she went to, her school, everything. And then she attached her CV. And then when I looked at her CV, I was blown away, because I've looked at a lot of CVs from university graduates, and they're like, what is this? So when you approach someone that they should help you, do a background check, research, you have internet. Make sure whatever you're putting together is very good content, that when the person looks at your CV, they are happy to share it. I sent her CV to almost all my friends. Hey, I have this lady. Can you help her? Can you help her? And today she's doing her service one of the oil field service companies. So make sure before you approach someone or you need a job, get your CVs right. There's somebody else who sends me a CV. I told her, this is not good. Redo it and send it. More than 3 months now. She's not even gotten back to me. So if you are not serious, nobody will take you serious. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Sheena and the other panelists, please. So we'll take 3 questions at a go, and then we can answer the questions at once.
Okay, thank you. I go by the name Okraku Imano from Yuma Chapter SP. My questions, I have 2 questions. One for Miss Ida Yeboah. During your delivery, you kept talking about building self-confidence, which means self-confidence is very important to the subject we are discussing. So I want to know if there are any daily practice that the women should undertake to boost their self-confidence. So that's the first question. The second question is to Mrs. Sheena also. in boosting your confidence, do you think gender pay gap plays an important role? Because in your delivery, you were talking about having diverse workforce improves profitability for companies. So I want to know if yes, then what are your takes on gender pay gap? Thank you.
So can we have the lady? She's raised her hand.
Good morning. Please, my name is Davida Lawson from University of Ghana. When Mrs. Ogogo was speaking, she said something about during her time there were about 90% of male students and 10% of male students. I'm also studying geology in this university, and right about like 70% to 30%. People say now so many companies have this diversity and inclusion policy. Also say that it's just hire to fill up a quota, just hire women to fill out a quota. What do you say to that, and should we own that?
Okay. So one more question, and because we have about 2 or 3 minutes. So to the lady here.
Hello. Please, my question is, how do we deal with harassment from people who we are trying to get help with? Yes, maybe in our workplace, in our institution. How do we deal with this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, let me make an attempt to answer her question. The whole issue about owning that companies are trying to fill a quota. No. Once you're in the classroom, they're actually coming there to recruit you based on your competence. So do not feel that you're actually filling a vacuum or you're filling a quota. We as women, what we're trying to project now is women should be given equal opportunity as our male counterparts. And we are saying that this can be achieved based on merit and not because we are women. So even though you're in a geology class right now and we have 30% of women in that class, do your best and excel. Do not say because I'm a woman, let me just lay back. After all, there's a quota system for women. No. You are in a competitive class, and therefore you have to understand that. So do not be, don't feel bad because you're a woman and all that. So try your best and excel, and therefore you will see the results at the end of the day. Thank you.
Just to add one thing, even if there was a quota, they're not going to take the bottom 30%. They're going to take the top 30%. So even within quotas, merit is still part of it. Just want to add that.
There's a question about self-confidence, how to boost.
Yes, self-confidence. The question was
about self-confidence, how to boost your
to build your
confidence.
self-confidence. So I think it's very important as a woman and also as a male that you, whatever area you're interested in, you need to do a lot of learning and training and have the right attitude towards whatever it is that you're learning. And once you have a good knowledge about what you do, I think that already gives you confidence because you understand and you need to somehow follow the industry trends by, attending conferences, reading up on the news, what's happening in the particular area that you're particularly involved in. All of this will give you confidence. And again, you need to work with your male counterparts as well. Like if you know that your male colleague or a friend or somebody who you want to learn from, you should be able to also get that, advice or experience from them. So I think it's really to do with just continuous learning and embracing, continuous learning and just learning more and more, like always, basically. And that really just boosts your confidence, really.
Thank you. Yeah, can somebody answer the harassment part too?
Oh, I'll get 1 second. Maybe I'll
Okay.
let the. But on the confidence comes by doing, right? And the more you do, the more you're comfortable. And I think we've sort of all talked about it since the Tolo MD was talking. Ultimately, you're going to fail at some of the projects. Don't feel like you're always going to have this success, throughout your career. No, there's going to be projects that go wrong, but you build confidence by actually going back and learning, okay, what went wrong in that scenario, so that the next phase you're more equipped and better equipped to actually overcome it. And maybe I'll touch briefly. I'm sure everybody else can. I'll touch briefly on the harassment case. Unfortunately, this is a case that you find in this part of the world, right? Sadly, and it's a cultural problem, right? That is not. I'd like to tell you that it will go away tomorrow, but until you get progressive people that obviously are looking for, competence over what they can get. But I think for you as a student or for you as a young person coming up, is to know that there's going to be, and oftentimes it's male in this, in higher positions, and some women. I've heard cases of women as well, right? So it's not just, obviously, it's predominantly male in this part of the world. But I think you just got to be prepared for it and know that, okay, if it comes, right, you obviously know who you are and what you're bringing to the table, that you shouldn't be, you shouldn't be listening to that, or you shouldn't be subjected to that. You see what I mean? So I'll let other, because obviously I haven't gone through this. I'll let the women talk.
Well, I haven't gotten through that before, but my company has a zero tolerance policy against any form of harassment, including sexual harassment. So if anyone is harassing, and I know a lot of companies have these policies, just that they don't implement it. So once you get into the company and somebody is harassing you, it is your right. Go look for those policies. Know the channels through which you have to go through to report. You need to report before. Oh, okay. Okay, if it was in the company, yeah, but before the company, maybe Araba will share her experience.
So, not that I have it. I mean, well, if you know me, you know you can't even try it with me. Those who know me know what I'm saying. Well, for that, that's where mentorship comes in very key. If you have an industry mentor who is, a senior person, for me, if I have a mentee and she comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm being sexually harassed," and has evidence or something, I can bet you on it. I won't keep quiet about it. I will send an email to their HR. I have a way to go about it. I have had a similar situation, and I followed it through to the end until the person was fired. It's as simple as that. So for me, as you as a young person, it might be difficult because you are feeling overwhelmed. But if you have an industry mentor who knows what he or she is worth, they will be able to help you, because we have access to the companies. So if the person is in company XYZ, I work here, I know how to get access into there, and I'm saying, hey, this is what is happening out there. Most companies have ethics lines. Even you can send an email to SLB has one. We have an ethics line. You can report anonymously, because most times people are afraid of victimization. You can report anonymously. One thing most times people don't check is go to the company's website. If it's a multinational, check. You would see most of them have ethics and governance. Go and read. You might see an email. Once you get an email, send an email with evidence. They will take it up. Those things are monitored. They check it. So even if you don't have a mentor, look for the company's official email, unless you don't have evidence. Because what happens, I am not a proponent of keep quiet, because you keep quiet, the person will go to the next person. And it keeps happening. We had similar situation. The person had been doing it, and he met in Waterloo when it got to my ears. Okay, so don't sit. I will never be the person to tell you that, just go away, don't answer the person. Because what you are doing is that you are keeping quiet, and this person will do it to somebody else, and the cycle continues. Try to be an end to that. Look for the company's official email. They always have an email somewhere, and send an email. Somebody will pick it up. Or send some message to their official LinkedIn handle. Something. Find a way to send it. Of course, don't put it on the general page. Like, don't tweet generally. Try to send it, in a way, in a confidential manner. And they will investigate it. Even if it takes them a while, they will investigate it, and then they will follow through with it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. And the key word is report and have your evidence. Do not be afraid. You guys are even lucky you're even Gen Z, so you can speak your mind as freely as you can. When somebody is doing something to you which is not right, please report to the appropriate authority and do not be afraid. And try and gather as much evidence as you can. You have any comment? Okay.
Is there a question
30 seconds.
or comment? Because I have to answer the question the gentleman asked about.
Okay.
So if you can.
30 seconds.
So he asked about pay parity, gender pay parity. I know for the West that is very common, where you have a male and a female with the same qualification and the same experience, and yet they are given different pay. For Ghana, my company, for example, we don't have that. Once you have the same qualification or the grade in which you are supposed to be in, whatever pay that you're supposed to get for that role, whether you're a male or female, you are given. I haven't really come across that yet for the companies that I have worked for, but I know it is very common in some of the Western countries. Maybe Josh, who has lived in the US, do you have any experience on that?
The pay parity.
I mean, obviously, I think this is something that most companies across now, right? In the age of Me Too since 2016, right? You've seen that. I think women used to make 70 cents to the dollar that a man makes, right? I think it's something that used to. Obviously, a lot of companies are, working seriously, and there's been a lot of talks around that, where equal payers, but it's never true, right? I mean, I'll put it out there now. It's never been the case. Even with some of the companies that are here, it's not the case. You understand? You might be told, yeah, you're getting the same thing. You're not. You understand? So I don't think we're there yet, but I think progressively you're getting there, right? I can't sit here and tell you that, for the same job that you're in at ENI, you're making exactly the same thing as your male counterpart. I don't buy it, right? But I think it's something that for you as a woman, at every opportunity you get, at every review chance you get, it needs to be brought up and make sure that because at the end of the day, you're doing the same job, right? And I mean, luckily in my sort of selfish thing to say, my line of work is you eat what you kill in trading. So there's no gender. If you're a woman and you make $20 million trading, you get the same. You go and say, "Here's my percentage," and you go home, right? There's no company gender, whatever. We don't do that, right? But in most traditional companies, I know it's something that still goes on, and it's something that we still need to. And I guess a lot of the onus on that is on you as a woman, right? At the get-go, to make sure that when you're taking a job, talk to your friends or your colleagues across. If you're working for Shell, and your friend is at ConocoPhillips or Schlumberger, Chevron. Hey, this is the entry level. They're offering me 50,000. What are you getting? Most people would share with you. Okay, that makes sense. Well, obviously it's not everybody that will share, right? But if you have a good friend that is working at Ghana Gas or this or that, you can easily compare and get an idea as to, am I being offered what I think I'm worth for that job, right? But it's to say that everybody's getting paid equally today. Some companies are doing it, right? But it's not across the board yet, and it's where both men in high positions, women in the same positions need to continue to drive to make sure that the talk matches the action.
Okay, thank you very much. We have come to the end of our panel discussion, and I'll have Nidra give us 10 seconds closing remark, and then we can have the MC and the section chair come to the stage. I hope you've all enjoyed today's panel session and you've learned one or two things.
So I think before Nidra's conclusion, just want to pass this through. I sat in a plane, I had two ladies pilots. I was very happy because I have D&I chairs and deputy chairs. I was happy until we experienced turbulence. And I was like, what? Are they okay? and for one reason, my second mind told me that if they were gentlemen, I think I'd have been a bit calmer than they were ladies. Even though initially I was happy. So this D&I thing needs to be preached. It has to go into deep into our mind to accept women at every capacity. Naira, go ahead.
Thank you very much for that contribution.
Okay, it's been a wonderful discussion, and I've enjoyed this, to be honest. It's much better than I expected. And to be honest, I believe we've heard a lot of important things. Don't let the conversation stop here. This should not be the end. Okay, we are done with this session, let's go. Start the conversations, go and research, continue to read up on this, continue to champion causes. And to the ladies, learn to, is one of the easiest ways people get to see you. Make it an objective to ask a question in every meeting you go to. It's very important. I know what I'm saying. I'll talk to you guys personally afterwards, but it's important because when we asked for questions, I saw 4 guys raise their hands. It took a while before I saw a lady raising her hand. That is part of building confidence. Okay? So just to conclude, it's been an amazing session, and there's been a lot of information. You can do it. You are not different from the men, and the men are here to help as well. Let's collaborate and do well in the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we would like to hear a final word from our ARD, Madame Oji.
Okay, so before me, I'm sure you guys must have known, before me, there was no female regional director for Africa. And you also know that SPE, we're not getting paid. So it's not like someone, promoted me into a position or someone, identified me or whatever. But yeah, it's a call to service. But that call to service has always been open. Women just don't like to stand up. And I don't know why. Well, I know why. Well, yeah. I know why. So let me not say I don't know why. I know why. But I just want to encourage us as young ladies to continue to step up. Sometimes it looks like it's impossible, especially when nobody like you has done it before. But it's possible. You can do it. You will bring your own flair to it. You will bring your own experience. You would fail. Like we said, you figure it out. You continue from there, and you'll be better off for it. Just put yourself out there and take on these experiences and opportunities. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for the panelists one more time. Can we do it harder, please? Or you can help me. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of this panel discussion, and then we're going to have some group photograph, and then we can return back to our seats and continue with today's program.
So you agree with me that the amazing moderator did an awesome job. Please can you give her a round of applause? Celebrate her. Well, please, if you keep mentioned, we would have the section chair present some plaques. Then we'll have a photo. Please, can we stand? Thank you so much. Key discussion today was develop a thick skin. It's very important. Don't assume. Don't assume. Don't bully. Don't bully. Get a mentor. And finally, try and open a LinkedIn account. Once again, please, can we give all of them a resounding round of applause? Over 120 years of experience on stage, and believe me, they have done justice to the topic. Awesome. A group photo? When I say SPE, you know what to say. Cleaner energy. SPE. Now, your thumbs up. Your thumbs up. SPE. Awesome. Thank you. So we'll have a break, and then we will convene for the student. Our panelists will go for a tea break now. Thank you and thank you. 15 minutes break. Technical, give us a very video, and then we'll be back in 15 minutes for the paper contest. Thank you and thank you.